talking about Jesus. God gives his Spirit without measure unto him. The words unto him are in italics. Words that are in italics in the King James Version were not in the original transcript. So how that verse really reads is God gives his Spirit without measure. Period. It just defies logic in the first place to think that he just gives you some of his Spirit and then he gives you a little more, when you get a little more mature. And then he gives you a little more when you're really obedient and you do everything you're supposed to do and you purify yourself, then he gives you more of his Spirit. Nope. He's God. He's a spirit, but he's a whole person. God is a person the same way that we're a person. Not to say, of course, yes, he's greater than any regular, ordinary person, but he's a person to begin with. Remember, we're made in his image and in his likeness. He saves you with his whole self, and his whole self is put in you. So all the gifts, all the inheritance that comes from God to us, everything that he has to give is already in us, in himself. Because of that, we're not purifying ourselves. He is purifying us with his perfect image and everything that he is, which is perfect. Well, I was talking about this principle earlier, and there's a time when I was dealing directly with that principle with God when, why was I thinking about this? I was thinking about if that love that he has is inside me, then it should also be showing. And not just showing it for others, but I wanted it to, just be where I could feel it. The question at the heart of it was, I believe I have all of you. I want all of you. I said, I believe it's there. I believe that love is there. I want it to come out. So you know what I started doing? I actually remember myself looking into my heart and trying to pull it up out of the inside of me and put it on the outside of me. Trying to scoop it up and put it on the outside as I was just trying to visualize it. And I was doing that, and it's not happening. I'm not feeling any kind of connection, and so I started talking to God about it. I believe this is now. I can have it now, Lord. Because going on in the back of my mind, that same thought we all have. We're thinking, and it's getting better with time. I'm getting closer and closer, and God is coming up more and more, and I just have to be patient. No, I was saying to myself, and I was saying to God, no, I don't believe it should take any time because it's real. I know that you've put your whole self in me, and I'm not trying to talk God into it. God is right there with me. God believes the same way I do on this. He's already put his whole self in me. I was like, God, I know it's there. I know it can come out. I just believe it can be right now. That's what I said to God. And then I kept going, and because I was walking at the time, I was on a walk. I kept going, and I was just thinking about it a little more. I was like, maybe it takes a little time, and maybe, just going through that in my mind, just pondering that. I said, no, I believe it can be right now. Just reminding myself of that principle that I'd seen in the Word so many years before. You are changed from glory to glory by the Spirit of the Lord. Have been changed. I am now your child. I am now completely full of you. So I'm reminding myself of those ideas and saying, no, I believe it can be now. And I know that I'm not talking contrary to what God says. I'm talking exactly in line with what he told me in his Word. But I wasn't trying to convince myself. I was trying to see it happen. This is now. And he told me 3 little words that helped lead me from that point on. Look more inward. Because if you remember, what I said was that I was looking in, thinking about trying to scoop it up and get it outside, scoop it up and get it outside. So when he said look more inward, I stopped thinking like that, and I just looked in. Just simple. I just looked in, like the other day I spoke about, like the light in the dark corner. Just look into the light. Don't look at all the stuff around it. Don't look at the problem. Don't look at the darkness. Look into the light. Look into God. I just looked into him. I stopped trying to think about trying to get it from inside to the outside. I just looked to him, and he flowed. See, he flowed at that point. You don't have to pull it up out of the inside. You look to him, and then he starts flowing, and then he flows to the outside. And to your current thoughts, to your, your conscious perception, your out into your personality, out into everything. He floods you when you do that. Look more inward was his word to me. I was looking in to try to get some kind of result, but I wasn't just looking to him. And, I've had a wonderful time with the Lord that day. I really felt full of him. But, things went back to normal by the next day. And then it was like a year-long journey for me after that, from that moment until about a year later, to when I finally came to a point where I recognized him in me. And then I no longer had an experience that came and went, but I stayed in him. Now, why did it take me that long? Because of being stubborn? Might not take you that long. But look more inward was a good key word. All right, I'm telling you that because it's also an example of how God purified my heart. Not me purify, but God purified my heart as I looked to him in faith. What do I mean? What I'm saying is that when he spoke that word to me, it directed my attention the right way. It changed the way that I thought about things. So that now, see, my thoughts are more in line with him. So my heart has now been purified. Now, you don't have to necessarily receive a special word for that to happen. I'll tell you about another word he gave to me one time. He said, that's how I can be God to you. And what he was specifically talking about, because I was talking to him about if people would just make this place where you are inside them, if they would just commit to it, to look into you in their hearts and committing ourselves to the instruction that we receive from you in there, is basically where I was going with it. I couldn't quite come up with the words. It was all about just the committing to you as if he was God in my heart. Committing to him and the place that he speaks to me in my heart as if it truly was God speaking to me. Okay? So taking my direction from there. If they would just do that and he interrupts that thought, that's how I can be God to you. Says that to me. Now I say that to you not to show off my knowledge of that word and that God told me this word. No, but to show you the direction that he was giving me, like the direction of thought. Okay? This is why I say that he doesn't necessarily need to speak a special word to you to purify your heart this way. But if you simply look into him and you make him your focus, then he can flow to you with whatever it is you need at that moment. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a word, but the point is it's the connection. Once you have that connection with him, at any given moment, he can flow to you with what you need. Clarify your heart, to purify your heart so that you see him, so that you see what he's doing. So are you saying then, because I don't want you to think this way either, are you saying then that I have to really focus on God and really I have to make a connection with God? Well, there's the beauty of it. See, that's the way we think of it. But that's a misconception as well. We don't have to make the connection with God. He's already making the connection. All we have to do is lay down our effort and rest in what he's already done. He's already put himself inside you. He's already made the connection. He is the connection. The Holy Spirit in you is the connection. He's the connection to himself. Just the fact that he's there, it's his spirit. He's there like a glass of water ready to drink. Now for me, in that moment, what it meant to me in reality was hearing a word, and that word helped directing my heart to the right thing. Now I'm giving you the word so you can maybe take that word to heart and help let it direct your heart to the right thing, which is to him. Always keep the main thing, which is him. And the connection you have with him in your heart. He's already made the connection. You enjoy the connection. What do? You just believe. Okay, we know that on principle. But how does it work in your life? I remember when he would just tell me, just believe at the very beginning, and it would frustrate me. And what I didn't know then was that just believing was actually what he wanted me to do. In other words, that was what would give me the breakthroughs. The just believing. When I would only believe and not believe and try to do this, or believe and try to think this, or believe and add this bit of action to it. See, if you do that, then he changes your heart. Then he changes what you think, right? And when he changes what you think, then you'll do maybe that necessary thing that goes along with your faith. Okay? If there is even a necessary thing to actually do. And don't get me wrong, a lot of times there will be a necessary thing to actually do, but it's so easy to do when your faith has changed before you try to do it. Matter of fact, you just do it because that's what you know is real at that point. Because this isn't supposed to be hard. We make it hard. God makes it easy when you just trust him. He'll change you on the inside, and then the outside just falls in line. And again, I want to bring you back to the principle again. Because the principle is that he's already changed you on the inside. By coming to live in you, he's made you a new creature by giving you a new heart. And your new heart is him. He is at the center of you. His spirit and your spirit are one and the same inside you. He makes no distinction between the two of you. So you might as well just go with it. Really, you might as well just go with it, because God says that your spirit and his spirit are one spirit when he's inside you. And that's the principle, that you're one spirit, that you're both the same, that he has changed you in your heart. Your spirit is with his spirit in your heart. You're the same. And that you're totally and 100% like God right there in the center of you. Now, the changes that have to be made are just changes to the way you think about things. See? But your core, your heart, is just like him. You just got to get your thoughts in line. And you see, I just said you just got to get your thoughts in line. But that is wrong. Not you just got to get your thoughts in line. He will get your thoughts in line as you simply come to him with your thoughts. He'll even deal with your thoughts without you even being aware of it sometimes. But a lot of this, you see, it's about, see, there's a joy in knowing your salvation. There's a joy in experiencing how he can save your thoughts. You know, how he can change your thoughts. There's a joy in seeing how, oh man, he relieved me of my anger because he relieved me of that way that I thought that led me into the angry pit of despair. There's a joy in that. So because of that, I mean, you don't want to miss that. You want to be aware when he's changing you. But some things it's good to get just a change without him having to show you anything. Either way it happens, right? I used to be way too logical. I used to think way too much. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can see that my mind still kind of, it's active. You know, I have an active mind. And that's fine. But the thing was, it was one of those kind of minds at the time, which is, you know, Paul described it as being people that were ever learning but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. That was me. I know there's a lot of you that probably know exactly what that's like. Not that you're like that now. You may have been that in the past. I think you tend to be more like that when you're younger. And as you get older, you mature, your mind starts to get a little more stable. But not everybody. You know, maturing isn't an automatic process. Anyway, I used to be like that, more logical. I mean, so logical to the point of never able to come to a conclusion, because there's always some reason to doubt. Whatever conclusion you come to, there's always some if, and, or but to add to it. But God has mellowed me. God has taken my mind and made it more stable by clarifying things to me and showing me things that are real and true. Things that I could put my faith in, see? Things that I wouldn't have to doubt. Things like that he's there. It was pretty much a 20-year journey for me to come to the point from where I actually fully, completely not just believed he was there, but knew he was there, to where I'd actually seen him in me. But there was a long period of time in that 20 years period where I was believing he was there. I knew the principle, yes, he was there. Now, I'm not looking for it to take 20 years for you. I'm looking for it to take 0 seconds for you. That's the truth. You don't need to take any time. And you don't have to have the same experience as me either. You got to understand when I'm talking about that, it's my own story, my own journey of how he brought me to that place where I saw him in me. He did that for a reason, though. See, that was for my benefit, yes, but it was also for other people's benefit, because that's what he called me to talk about. Okay, that's the vision that he gave me, the vision of him inside us, and how that he works his way from the middle out to reconcile the whole person to himself as a unified, pure individual. See, like a bag of salt is pure because it has no contaminants in it. You, unified and pure because there's nothing in you, that no pretense to contaminate who you are. You see, you have your personality, you have your foibles, you have your interesting little, differences that aren't like anybody else necessarily. And some of those differences, it's the beauty of this, is how some of your differences are a little bit like this person over here, and a little bit like that person over there, or not nearly as much like that person over there. And some of our differences are even similar, right? And that's wonderful too. It's personalities. It's who we are. It's our different experiences, right? And you are still that same person, but now you have God shining through it all because he's one with you. And see, where before my mind was a calculating mess, now it's centered and radiant with the glory of God, because I understand that, because I see him through it all, and I see through myself, and I see him through myself. Okay, it's what he's done in order to clarify me. Okay, and I'm just trying to give you the benefit of that, because he's given me this picture, which comes down to what I believe this picture is true for anyone, is that he lives on the inside of you, and he's clarifying your inside. But this is how he, getting a little too excited. This is how he predestines us all to be conformed to the image of his Son, because our insides are being clarified from the heart out, marrying your thoughts to him, winning you to himself with his love, to make you like him, but still yourself, because you'll still be unique in your own way, but yet flooded with God. And that's how he calls people to their purposes, to their different purposes in the body, because we don't all do the same thing in the body. Not all of us are a hand, not all of us are a finger, not all of us are a toe, not all of us are a kneecap. It's just an example. We don't all serve the same function. I like to say we're made of dirt, right? We came from the dirt, right? God made us out of the earth. And it's just, the only question is, what kind of dirt are you made of? And then when you have the Spirit of God shining through that dirt, it then becomes glorified. The image of God, covered over with mud, but not in a bad way. It says in the Bible, actually, that we're covered with mud, so to speak, so that we can see that the power is of God and not of ourselves. Even though we're, in a sense, nothing but balls of dirt that are soft and frail and able to be destroyed at a moment's notice. But because of God, we're new, we're changed, we're different, we're eternal creatures now. Can you imagine that? These balls of dirt that we're made of, physically speaking, are now eternal. Why? Because he has swallowed up our mortality with his immortality. He has covered over our lack of divinity with his divinity. He has made us holy. In the same way that the temple in Jerusalem, say, or the temple on this hill, or the temple wherever, is not holy because you built it, but it's holy because God is in it. So you are also holy, not because you're made of dirt, made of earth, made of clay, but because he is in you. So it doesn't depend on anything but him. You're just as holy as the holy place in heaven, where he lives. Because why would that place in heaven be any holier than you when he lives in you? That's good news all the way up and down, left and right, front to back. You're consumed with him.